of health and well-being, explores how to optimize your mindset and your lifestyle, and shares practical tools so that you can achieve your fullest potential. Join me and a special guest each week as we discuss everything from biohacking to diet personalization to cutting-edge detox methods to setting and staying accountable to your goals. Ready to find out what the heck you can do to stay healthy, sharp, and at the top of your game? Let's get started. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the What the Heck podcast. I'm super excited today to have a good friend of mine, and we're going to be talking about ketones. And I'm going to get right in with her because her and I can probably talk on the topic for hours, and I want us to really leverage her time. So this is my good friend, Dr. Heather Cardin. Heather, welcome to the podcast. So great to have you on.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here with you and talking about this topic.
Yes, which we both know is, a hot topic because there's a lot more exposure to that. But first, Heather, let's start by introducing you a little bit more in detail, how long you've been in practice, what kind of practice you have, and how you personally got interested more into, ketogenic diets and intermittent fasting and so forth. So give us a little bit of insight on you.
Awesome. Well, I practice here in Overland Park, Kansas, alongside my husband. We're celebrating our 20th plus year of practicing. As you shared, we have a very functional style of medicine. We are licensed as chiropractors, as you are, also applied kinesiologists, acupuncturists, diplomacy in internal medicine. So what we do at Cardin Center for Wellness is we really help use all those tools or modalities in our pocket to really find that one interference in the body, which is stopping the body from moving forward in its healing process and along that journey. Also the mother of 4 amazing young men. I have to add that because that plays a big part in my role. When you talk about feeding your body, even from the point of, fertility to breastfeeding to growing a healthy child, because we know what's happening right now with the stats globally with our children of the I generation, so to speak. So we start talking about food. It really is very close to my heart, knowing that I've had 3 women very close to me who passed away due to heart disease, which is the number one killer of women. My aunt at the age of 42, my grandma, my grandpa, and my sister at the age of 48. So when we start talking about food, it's a very passionate subject for me. But also when we talk about the body and what it needs, it all makes total sense on what we should be doing and what we weren't doing right in the 1980s and 90s.
Yeah, so you guys can see who are listening how busy Dr. Heather and her husband Broth are with not just their practice, but raising healthy kids as well. So Heather, this is a perfect segment with, what you said about chronic diseases, heart disease. And, I've shared before that my mother has Alzheimer's. So I think you and I have, extra passion to help our patient, but help people more on a global level to really kind of, I hate to use the word wake them up, but sometimes, unfortunately, people do need an event, a cancer diagnosis, a diagnosis of some sort to wake up and make changes with their lifestyle, right? So one of the questions that I like to ask my guests is, what makes you go, what the heck? What the heck in this sense in, our industry that you wish people, clicked or resonated more with and that you're, super passionate about?
I think it's still just big food manufacturing. I watched The Magic Pill. I've watched Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. And just seeing what we've done at that level to actually hide food content, take away the right things, bleach and enrich things. I'm also a farmer's daughter. My dad was a farmer here in Kansas. We also milked cows, we crated pigs, we farmed wheat and soybeans. So seeing what the earth and dirt and healthy animals can feed your body, and then knowing that oftentimes we are really encouraged to take the easy way out, which is drive through a peanut butter and jelly that's frozen with no wrapper. So I guess that's really kind of my heartstring. Even you go to a family movie, they're enticing everyone with food. And we know how highly addictive sugar is. And we visually see it, we visually taste it. It's really hard to just overcome that sense of urgency of, I need sugar. But what we know is that eating all the sugar is wreaking havoc on our metabolism and really on, we talk about children for the first time ever, our children, your children, my children, are not supposed to outlive us for the first time ever in 200 years. And it is related to food.
Yeah. And it's so true, because I know in the webinars that I do on a weekly basis, I talk about the food industry and how commercials on TV, right? It's either drug related, it's food related, or it's cosmetic related. And God knows that, you know, those industries are trying to sell us their products to make us look young and beautiful and so forth. And, you know, it's full of toxins and so forth. So yeah, that's definitely a huge one. So Heather, you've really focused your practice because of who is coming into your practice with ketogenic diet and reducing inflammation. So first of all, what is a ketogenic diet and how would one benefit from it? And then we'll dig a little bit more in the intermittent fasting, because I know last weekend you were at a conference that was digging into intermittent fasting, but also, you know, block fasting for long periods of time, which is all a little bit scary for people. And for people listening, you know, you don't want to just start not eating just right away. There's a process and so forth. So let's start with, what is the ketogenic diet and why should someone follow it and what does it look like?
Absolutely. Well, we've studied the ketogenic diet for more than 100 years. We first started studying it for children who were non-responsive to epileptic medication. And as most clinical trials go, when we start to shift something, we see all these other adjunctive things start to get better. So the ketogenic diet is total opposite of the standard global diet. I know you're in Canada, so I'm going to say global or North American diet. Yeah. So it's eating about 5% or less carbs, so lots of healthy greens. It's moderate amounts of protein, and then it's eating a diet high in healthy fats. We know our body has two fuel sources. It can either run on glucose, which we're doing if we're eating the standard global diet, high in carbohydrates, low in fat, or we can actually run on ketones. We actually come into this world burning ketones as a baby. Babies have to wait for mother's milk to come in for 18 to 24 hours sometimes. Babies are in that state of ketosis, waiting for that process to happen. When we're in ketosis, which means our body's burning fat for fuel, our body functions the most optimal, our insulin's the most balanced. We are the most natively balanced at our immune system. Our insulin sensitivity is low. But just think about that baby. It only eats when it's hungry, right? Only eats. It doesn't graze. It doesn't snack. It only eats when it's hungry. It stops when it's full. And then babies wake up happy and giggly. I ask everyone, do you wake up happy and giggly, or is your hair a mess? The pillows on the floor? Did you not sleep? Are you snacking because you can't tell if you're hungry, hangry, lonely, or tired? The ketogenic diet has such amazing effect on the signaling for the brain that it actually stops those cravings. It balances out that blood sugar. It actually helps really just tap into when we're truly hungry or if we just have an appetite for something. So as we talk about your mother, talk about the women in my family, we talk about lifestyle diseases. We know ketogenic diet is an amazing modality or tool to help us really optimize our journey here on this earth.
Yeah. And I mean, let's face it, we've grown up, you know, you and I are a similar age, you know, in the era of low fat this, and it's so hard to say to patients or people like that, you need to increase your fat. They go, oh my God, you know, my cholesterol is going to go through the roof, that kind of stuff. So there is a lot of myths that need to be busted with that. And, you know, can you share how you explain that to patients to say that, you know, it's okay to eat fat? I think you've done a good job with the different types of foods, but people are still scared that they're going to, you know, follow a ketogenic diet, or maybe they think it's not for them. So how do you usually, you know, convince people to try it and see how they feel and how their body reacts on it?
Yeah. So, but you're exactly right. People have to have a crisis. Either they are told to be put on statins and they're afraid of that, or they had a reaction, or their hormones are a mess and they've been trying to do all the HRT. They've been implanting hormone pellets. Generally, when people come to our practice, they've tried everything else. That's generally what they say. We've tried it all. This is my last stop. But we're like, great. We want to be your last stop because we want to help you. Mm-hmm. So we lead with education. We simply show them that healthy fats or cholesterol break down into all of our hormones. We also know that our body is its own pharmacy. So when we start educating people very simply and say, this is our native state, we actually come into the world in a state of ketosis. This is a fuel that our body was meant to burn. If it's an athlete, I ask if they've ever been through, you know, that state where they switch from sugar burning to glucose burning and get in that, you know, energizer rabbit bunny speed, so to speak. But we just really start educating them. And generally you say it's a crisis. They're ready to do something different because what they've been doing hasn't been working. And that's generally what they say, like, I'm stuck. And it really is word of mouth in our practice after practicing so many decades that people they generally help people get people better. But now having the internet, now knowing that ketone, intermittent fasting are the top Google searched words, it makes it much easier for us. And top thought leaders are coming out with amazing books, amazing research that really we can just guide people to and say, just do the research yourself or try it. You have nothing to lose because what you're doing isn't working. Your blood sugar is going up. And then we have tons of people who share that they reversed diabetes. They've actually started ovulating again. Their testosterone has come up just simply by changing their diet, or people just start to feel better. So that really is its own best medicine, is when people feel that change in their body, then they learn what they're doing is the right thing. And again, there's so much clinical research out there to support it.
Yeah, and it's not a new thing. Like you said, for cancer and epilepsy, it's been around for years, but it's nice to see authorities, in the natural field, like Dr. Hyman and Dr. Mercola. I mean, they've been, especially Dr. Mercola has been, promoting this for a long time, but I think it's gaining more and more awareness. But still, to this day, if somebody goes on it and then they go see their traditional family practitioner, and there's going to be some discussion going on. But I always say to patients, try it and see how you feel. And people are amazed of the energy that they have. But also, people have to give it a good go and do it properly. You can't, the saying here, have your cake and eat it too, really applies,
True.
right? Because you're not going to tap into ketosis. So that's a question that I get often. So how would someone know that they are in ketosis?
So number one, you can either check your urine, and that's really pretty easy and cost effective to do the first 2 or 3 months. The more your body gets fat adapted, it does not dump out the ketones anymore. So it's a simple little strip. I think I paid $7 for 90 of them. And then you can also check your blood, which I think is the most reliable. You simply just check your blood. If it's over 0.5 on the meter, thumbs up, you're in ketosis. Or there's a couple different breath meters coming out that you simply just blow into them, which can be a little more expensive on the front end. And there's a little bit of variability because you have to keep resetting it and acclimating to each computer, but it lets you test several times a day. So if you're trying to see if a blueberry is doing it, or red pepper or radish is throwing you out of ketosis, or just your coffee is throwing you out of ketosis, it's a very economical, low invasive way to do it because you can test again 30, 40 times a day. So there's 3 different ways. I think you and I have both been in that state. You feel laser sharp focus. If you don't have those tools to test, your mouth feels very dry and you just feel like you could just conquer the world and just do anything. So it's an amazing feeling when you get there. It doesn't mean that the little urges for a cinnamon roll or a cake or cookie or pie isn't there, but the more you educate and the more you put yourself in a community that really endorses this way of eating and living. And when you see these little bitty wins at our office, like I slept 2 hours for the first time, or, this happened or that happened, it's just amazing when you start getting inspired just from our own patients and our community.
Mm-hmm. Here's another question that I get asked too all the time. Is it good actually to be in ketosis all the time? Meaning, if you follow a ketogenic diet, should you give yourself, your body breaks from being in ketosis? And, let's dig in, with intermittent fasting, talking about probably your answer on that one.
So we have to define what is a long time, first of all. So I believe that we all should intermittent fast every single day, but in little different time blocks. So whether it's 6 hours or 8 hours, definitely have a feast day, which we add a few more carbs and protein, but have one big meal because you want to replicate what our ancestors did. Even though we're in this century, we still come into this world in ketosis. Our ancestors came into this world in ketosis. We're all still, conceived exactly the same way, naturally. And again, we arrive in the world the same way in that state of ketosis. So what is a long time? I think if you have a metabolic disease that you're fighting, there's a lot of clinical research saying, yes, I've had multiple cancer. It's a great diet for me. I have, I've had multiple seizure issues. And so what generally can happen is as your body starts to get fat adapted after 2 or 3 years, even people who used it for seizure control, the body actually can heal. That's the amazing thing. And then people can actually slide out of ketosis and be into more of a low carb, healthy, green, eating healthy fat type of state. So I think it's okay to slip in and out. I don't believe in the big cheat day, so to speak, or, be out of ketosis for 3 days and your body's got to get back into, because what the literature shows us is that what happens with that fat, because when we eat food we don't need, our body's so smart, it just packages it up in little fat cells and puts it all over our body, no matter where we want it or not. And then it doesn't know what to do with it. So then when it starts packing it back in around our visceral organs, it can be very detrimental to our health. So that new term, thin on the outside, fat on the inside, is why we don't want to yo-yo ketogenic diet every 2 or 3 days. But yes, you can do it seasonally, especially here in Kansas. We would not have any berries right now, but if I was in another state, I might have access to some fruit or things like that. But again, looking at the metabolic diseases, looking at how highly addictive sugar is, I think it's much safer to be in a longer state of ketosis than to be in a longer state of the standard American diet.
Totally agree. And people don't have to go from one extreme to the other, right? If you're
correct,
slightly out of ketosis, but you're still eating tons of green and doing low carb, you're not creating inflammation in the body. And sadly, like we said earlier, people need to have a condition that they want to heal, but we want to be doing this for prevention as well. So let's talk about 3-day fasting. Let's talk about, the benefits of that. I know you were at a conference with Dr. Dan Pompa this weekend, and they were talking about the length of fasting. So enlighten us on that part.
Yeah, so I love this part. So the minute that you decide you want to switch to a ketogenic diet and you drop your carbs down to 25 total carbs, the first 24 hours, your body goes through the glucose stage. In the next 24 hours, which is 48 hours, your body goes through glycogen. So you've got to burn through all that glucose in your body and in your muscles. And then and only then, our liver is so smart. Our body is so innately divine. It says, hey, I've got some energy and you're not feeding me that carbohydrate sugar anymore. I'm going to go grab some fat, break it down and make some ketone bodies. So our body can actually use that. And so that generally happens about the 48th hour optimally. But at 72 hours, autophagy starts to happen. Autophagy is an intelligent thing our body does, which means it gets rid of the old cells because it knows it's not going to have to focus on digesting food 14 hours a day. Because if we're eating and snacking, our metabolism never gets a rest. Our body's always digesting food. It doesn't have a chance to focus on making new brain cells or fighting precancerous cells. So when we can actually switch our body into that state, our blood sugar is mostly maintained. We're not craving foods. We're not hungry for foods. And then our body says, you know what, I've got some time to make some new white blood cells. So then we see our body get rid of the old white blood cells that aren't very good, then start to regenerate new ones at 72 hours. Then at 4 plus 5 days, our body makes new stem cells. We hear a lot about people doing stem cell injections. Our body can make them. We know that, again, 4 to 5 days is when our body starts to make brand new stem cells, which we all need for anti-aging. And then I forgot to mention at that 24-hour mark, our human growth hormone naturally goes up. So again, we hear a lot of people topically buying them or taking them orally in homeopathics or injection forms, but our body can make them. A 24-hour fast, women's human growth hormone increases 1,300%, men 2,000%. So a shorter fast, increase your human growth hormone, feel better, anti-age, 72 hours, get your immune system really up booted and re-regulated. And then at 5 days, you can really start to see new stem cells. Now, the research that I learned this weekend from Jason Fung was really at 72 hours. You really want to break that fast and really start feeding those body because you just made new stem cells. You just made new white blood cells. You don't want to starve them out. You actually want to start feeding them. So it's a better practice to do that 5 or 7 day, just extended fast, not 21 days. Again, you always want to check with your healthcare provider first. But the research is amazing out there from Dr. Luongo who did the fasting mimicking diet in the University of California, the longevity clinic, to Dr. Jason Fun work, to Dr. Pompa's work. Everybody's agreeing on the same page because science doesn't lie when it comes to what's happening at the cellular level in your body. So it's very, very exciting when people want to talk about remissing and reversing different disease processes, and keeping inflammation down is really the name of the game.
Yeah, that's exactly what I say. It's the name of the game. So let's talk about ketogenic products, because obviously if people have done some digging on Google or whatever for ketogenic diet. So how do you use it with your patient? Because let's face it, if you tell someone don't eat for 5 days, it's going to be mighty tough. So the ketone products sometimes are good addition for someone to start the fasting. So what's your protocol in the office when you start with a patient?
Right. So first, we lead with education. We give them a food list of what they can have. We give them an idea of what a food list should look like, eating healthy greens and fats. And then we kind of calculate their macros. But we ask people, if you were a smoker, could you go cold turkey? If they say, heck no, I'd need like something like a gum or a patch. Then we didn't have it before 2015. We have the option to use pure therapeutic exogenous ketones. There's only one company that makes pure therapeutic ketones. It is Prove It. I am one of their nutrition specialists and one of their reboot coaches, but it's the only one is the same isomer that our body makes. So it's the only pure therapeutic exogenous ketones. There are others on the market. I'm sure I'm going to get some mail on this, but others on the market that are racemic mixture, which means they're a right or left mixture, so to speak. But we do have the only R one. So what ketones do, when you can start just putting it into your body at a water soluble, so it's already broken down, your body doesn't have to do the work. It actually helps take out that craving, helps keep the energy really focused the first really 2 to 5 days. So it's an amazing tool to help people transition over. Teaching this for decades, people often fail because sugar gets the best of them, even smelling bacon, or they overeat too much fat because they're so used to eating. But ketones are amazing signalers for our brain. So as a chiropractor, we understand that innate capability of the body. So ketones for our brain are signalers to the rest of our body, whether it's our heart, our kidneys, our reproductive organ, even moving our fingers and toes, that's all coming from our brain. Ketones provide 38% more oxygen. They provide more ATP. So when you can use an exogenous ketones transitioning over into that in order to maintain a higher level of ketones or get you in there quicker, it really gives the brain just a nice little gift to help that switch happen much, much quicker. There have been people who have not been able to get to ketosis. Either they have so much stress, they work a nighttime shift, their thyroid's off, they have a ton of inflammation. Even if they're eating everything right, they're testing day in and day out. I have a patient who was in a car wreck. She lost her pancreas and part of her colon. She just couldn't get there. So then once we started having her drink the exogenous ketones, her body said, okay, I can do this. The whole signaling started to happen. And now she can do it all by herself. So it's just a great tool to have that, an adjunctive modality, so to speak, to let the body do what it naturally knows how to do. So that's what we do in our office. We either take a 1 to 3 week protocol doing that. And then we generally check in, we check food diaries. And then we teach people, when you talk about block fasting, that yes, how many times do we do this lengthened fast? Well, it depends on your health status. What's the best option for me? It depends on your health status. So block fasting can be a 5-day intermittent fast, a 1 24-hour fast to increase your human growth hormone, and then 1 feast day. And that feast day is not cakes and cookies and pies. A feast day is a little bit extra protein, maybe a bite of a sweet potato, maybe 4 or 5 blueberries. Or you could do, a 4-day intermittent fasting day, and then a 2-day just true water fast day, even using some exogenous ketones, and then a 1-day feast day. Because if you do go low carb too long and you don't create metabolic confusion, your body will stagnate. So you need to vary that ketogenic diet and make sure you're just mixing it up, because our energy sources are different every single day of our life. And we have to feed it different every single day. And when we can get in tune with appetite and hunger, our body will go on autopilot and do amazing things.
Yeah, and that's the whole point with diet cycling as well. What about bone broth, Heather? Because, you and I have done fasting before. And I have to say from a personal experience that it was truly mind over matter. I could not believe it after the second and third day, how I wasn't really hungry. It's just like, it's the habits. It's we have kind of, design our days around, food at a certain time. But, I know that I've used bone broth as well on my days of fasting. So is that something you recommend, I think, right?
Yes, you can do it, especially if you know that your tendency to be low on minerals. And we always check a CBC or CMP before. So people have a tendency to be low on minerals, or they have a leaky gut situation, then it is an amazing tool to use. And Dr. Jason Fung really outlined that for me this week, in that when you're doing that fast, you want to keep it under 300 calories, under about 15 grams of protein, because even with the best bone broth, and we call bone broth God's Gatorade, it's got all that amazing collagen and macronutrients that your body needs to actually heal that gut and heal the lining of that villi. And then you want to feed the immune system. So again, you're just macro feeding those new cells and giving your body a little bit of energy to help continue to clean and sweep out at that cellular level. So my answer is yes, but I do have people test. If you are in a fasted state and so your blood glucose is 80, you drink your bone broth and it goes up, and then you know that took you out of your fasted state. So it doesn't work for everyone. But I would say for 80% of the people who don't have a tremendous amount of stress, like a firefighter, a police officer, or someone in a bad relationship, they generally can tolerate some of that bone broth in there, because you need that collagen to heal that gut. And generally when we come out of the fast and refeed, we do start with bone broth with some greens, or even some bone broth made out of fish bones, because you're getting all those amazing elements that your body needs to recycle those hormones and recycle those new cells that we just made.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, like I said, I knew we could talk for a long time. So 2 last things, give us some hacks that people can do to get started on a ketogenic diet, maybe like 2 or 3 fast things that, they can start with and integrate in their daily lives.
Okay, number one, only drink water and drink half your body's weight in water. Cut out everything else. Number two, identify when you're hungry and only eat when you're hungry and eat less often. That will get you very, very far in your diet. And the third thing is sleep. You've got to get your sleep under control or you will not be successful during your day. So really work on your sleep hygiene, the blue blocker glasses, making your room a little bit colder this time of year is great for your body temperature and great for your body just to rest and repair. And at least 7 hours, no more than 9.
And the blue blocker, because, let's face it, people are on their cell phone before they go to bed and so forth. So thank you so much, Heather. How can people find out more about what you do? What's the website that they can reach you at?
Awesome. So you can find me at askdrheather.net is my blog. My email is drheather, drheather@cardinwellness.com. I'm also on Facebook as Ask Dr. Heather, but it's at the Keto Doc. Twitter, Instagram, Ask Dr. Heather, just ASKDR Heather. I keep it very simple. So you can find me there, YouTube channel, Ask Dr. Heather, Twitter, Facebook, Ask Dr. Heather, all the same. So 1,000 recipes or more on my blog that are all healthy for everyone to enjoy this time of year. So again, thank you for having me here. I always love sharing information and helping people be the best version of themselves.
That's awesome. And to leave, to finish our podcast, I always ask my guests, what is your favorite quote, Heather? Because I know I have many, but what's the one that resonates the most with you?
So the mantra of the week, because I want to save the week because I change all the time, is to eat when you're sick, is to actually feed your sickness. And that was written from Hippocrates a long time ago. So when you're eating, are you feeding a disease or are you fighting a disease? This time of the year is cold and flu season, lots of temptation, lots of family gatherings. So to eat when you're sick is actually to feed your sickness. So if you're sick, make sure that you're feeding your body, not making it worse.
Yeah, I've never heard that one. That's an awesome quote. So thank you so much, Heather. And for the people that are watching this, this is a copy of my book with, thumbs up, Hack Your Health Habit. And what we're going to do is I have a chapter on the ketogenic diet in my book. So if you text to this phone number, 1-716-203-1356, the word keto, Keto, what we will do is we will send you the transcript of this episode, but also chapter 14, section 3 of my book that talks about the ketogenic diet. And the book is for sale on Amazon and many different platforms. I think for the people that are confused about a lot of those things we talked about, it could shed a lot of insight. So thank you very much, Heather, to share your wisdom with us. Next week, I will be hosting the podcast and we will be hacking some more aspects of our health, and hopefully you can join us on this episode. So this was Dr. Natalie Beauchamp. Thank you so much for tuning in, watching, and writing comments. I know I always go back to make sure that I answer because we can't do everything all at once. And hopefully you can tune in for next week's episode of What the Heck podcast. Thank you very much. I'm Dr. Natalie Beauchamp, and this is What the Heck, the podcast that dives into what the heck is going on in the world of health and well-being, explores how to optimize your mindset and your lifestyle, and shares practical tools so that you can achieve your fullest potential. Join me and a special guest each week as we discuss everything from biohacking to diet personalization to cutting-edge detox methods to setting and staying accountable to your goals. Ready to find out what the heck you can do to stay healthy, sharp, and at the top of your game? Let's get started. This has been a Wellness on the Go production.